was
talking about. So Evan claimed in this HBO documentary that that's coming out. One of her main claims in the documentary is that she just saw Manson as a friend. She was not attracted to him. She almost kind of thought he was a little creepy when they met, and that he concocted this basically this fake film, Phantasmagoria, which was not fake and which he worked on for years, even after he and Evan Rachel Wood broke up. But her story is that he basically used this film and as a pretext to get her to spend time with him, and allowed her to be a co-writer of this film. And that basically through the process of working on the script for this film, that he took advantage of her psychologically and basically coerced her into dating him and becoming his girlfriend. Now, what you're describing, it sounds like to me, is, well, you're saying that that's not that's, what do you think of that narrative? Let me ask you that. What do you think of what she says? Is that accurate?
I think that she's lying completely. The significant other, I wasn't there yet, but he was, and he was across the hall in the Chatsworth house. I do have some photos of, but it was his art room, and the bedroom that we stayed in was almost right across, a little bit kitty corner, but it had French doors, so you could see in there what was happening. And this other person told me about how he had seen Evan sitting on his lap, and it was not, innocent by any means. There was definitely a sexual context to it, and she knew what she was doing. It was not like, oh, I have no idea what is happening here. She wasn't. I mean,
so you're saying that the person that you're saying that the person that you were dating in Manson's small circle, and we haven't gotten to this part of the story yet, but you end up, he lived with Manson for a while, and you ended up moving in with him and living with Manson, and him and Manson and Evan Rachel Wood. They were in another room. But you're saying that this person that you were dating who lived with Manson said that when Manson and Evan Rachel Wood first started hanging out and working on Phantasmagoria, that he saw Evan Rachel Wood very, very actively involved in trying to seduce Manson, it seemed to him. Is that what you're saying? Because Evan Rachel Wood has tried to depict it like she was just sort of basically coerced into dating this man almost against her will. But that's not the impression that you or your friend had.
All what I have heard from him. And he told me extensive hours of things that he saw that had happened. And he showed me like the carpet and stuff, and it's an art room, and that being part like paint over the evidence, and it sounded like the first time they were intimate. And Dita was still in the picture at this time, and I'm pretty sure that she ended up becoming pretty aware that not only was it odd that this woman was in her house, but they were in this room that they were spending a lot of time in there, and it wasn't a big room.
And then the other thing, which I want to just remind the audience of, that there were these pictures that came out that you had showing Evan Rachel Wood with a Hitler mustache on that she had drawn on. She claimed that other people drew it on her, but in fact, I've talked to you, and I've also talked to someone else who was there at this party. This was a New Year's Eve party, was in Vegas. Halloween. Sorry, this Halloween party in Vegas. And I've talked to you. I've talked to someone else that I've interviewed on my channel, Manzin, the Manson impersonator, and he said that both of you say that she drew it on herself. and that she was very enthusiastic about
hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah, and she was supposed to be what did she call herself? Ava Braun of the Dead.
Yeah.
So Evan Rachel Wood, like I said, she has claimed psychologically coerced into participating in, you know, some of the quote unquote, you know, Nazi stuff that was going on tour, and, you know, by her account. And so a couple of things. First of all, there's footage of Evan Rachel Wood backstage at a Marilyn Manson concert, very enthusiastically doing the Nazi salute.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, people wonder, well, what's with the whole Nazi thing? It's not an ideological thing. It's a certain aesthetic thing that was popular in music among a number of these bands, you know, at the time. It's sort of like aesthetic, like a look, you know, with like the leather and the hats and stuff like that. It had nothing to do with anti-Semitism. And so anyway, I talked about that on my channel. Paula Weiss talked about it a lot in one of her interviews and everything. But point is, though, and the whole idea was to, like, back then was to be, you know, edgy and push the envelope and everything. But anyway, had nothing to do with actually supporting Nazis. But my point is, though, that Evan Rachel Wood, one of her big claims is that Manson engaged in, you know, anti-Semitic behavior, or, you know, and made racist comments about Jews and really and was obsessed with Nazis and all that. But that she was basically like forced to go along with this stuff. But we see her backstage at a concert, just like loving doing that Nazi salute. I don't see, you know, Manson's not doing the Nazi salute. You know, we don't have any footage of him. We've got her footage of her doing that. So anyway, here's where I'm going with all of this. Did it seem like to you, you know, you were on tour with her and Manson for months, and you lived with them when you moved in with this mutual friend? Did it seem like to you that she was being manipulated into this?
No, she found it funny. It wasn't something that Manson had her do, like with the black eyeliner in there. But I've been saying that since September of 2020, that she was in the bathroom with the black eyeliner. Another thing is with the Hitler salute. I was on the side of the stage several times with her, and she would do that pretty much every time when Antichrist Superstar would play. And it wasn't like something to gain Manson's attention. It was just like she did it, and it was like I was standing next to her, just like, the first time. But then I got used to it.
I'm sorry. Was anybody else doing this Nazi salute? Was this? I guess that's my question too. Is this a common thing at a Manson concert, or where was she getting that?
No, it was. I thought it was maybe just something that she thought would be. Was
anybody else doing it at these, like at the time? Were there people in the audience doing it, or people on stage? So she was the only one doing this Nazi salute?
Yeah, and I was standing next to her a lot of times. We would usually, it would be stage right, but when you're looking at the stage from the audience, it would be on the left-hand stage. And almost every concert that I was there, we would always be on stage right. So when you're looking at the left-hand side, and we'd be beside the speakers are kind of hiding behind it, but the band could see us. And I'm really surprised that more people have not found footage of it, because it was every concert that I was up there with her, and even when I was just in front of the rails and taking photos and stuff, I could see her doing it. But especially in like August, I started to go on stage with him, with her, and my significant other would put me up with her, and she was fine with it. But she was absolutely just loving it.
So just so I understand, and nobody else was doing the Nazi salute. So she came up with this on her own and was doing it very enthusiastically and solely, it sounds like. Nobody else was doing his language. But did you ever get the sense from him, anything that he said, that he was a racist?
No, I never heard him say the N word other than like in when he would occasionally sing rock and roll.
Oh, so you actually never heard him?
I never heard him say
huh.
the N word. Okay. And I do have heritage of Black ancestry in my family line, so like I would be like that would be something I would remember and
right
be offended
right
was said. But and the thing with like the having like I have read that Evan said that she would wake up to swastikas on her nightstand and stuff. I just don't buy that because he was never like anti-Semitic.
So anyway, here's the point: is that she has projected this behavior onto Manson and has said now, years after the fact, that he was the one forcing her to do these things, coercing her into doing these things. He was the one obsessed with Nazis and all this. And it sounds like actually she was the one obsessed. Manson wasn't drawing Hitler mustaches on himself or her. Manson wasn't doing the Nazi salute. So, I mean, that's really very sort of bizarre projection that's going on. And I have a feeling that this isn't the only thing that she's projecting onto Manson. But the other thing that I just want to make sure that we understand, you had, I would assume that on being on tour with her, being one-on-one quite a lot, like it would just be the two of you wandering through the crowds at times with the bodyguard trailing behind and so forth. I would imagine you had a number of intimate conversations, right? Where she talked about all kinds of things, including maybe her relationship with Manson.
She was just kind of like using it as, okay, it's a chance for me to go travel the world. And that's when I kind of like was starting to see that maybe she wasn't caring so much about Manson, but Manson cared so much for her. And that's when, I was 4 years, I am 4 years older than her, but I think she was just in love with the idea of being in love. And I think Manson genuinely loved her.
So just she never said any, okay, so it sounds like what you're saying, sorry to get back to what we were saying about the tour. It sounds like what you're saying is that you got the impression over time that she was not, because she didn't really talk about Manson very much, that she really wasn't that into him, and that it was imbalanced, that he was a lot more into her, and also that she was kind of just more into the experience of Marilyn Manson, the tour, the act, the persona, all of that.
Well, I think she just liked the idea of fame and being associated with him.
Did she ever tell you, in all this time you spent together, both, on tour and then living there at Manson's house, did she ever tell you that? Did she ever tell you at all that he was that he was abusing her, or did she ever tell you that she wasn't really into him, but she just kind of, she felt like he had manipulated her into being with him, or did she ever express anything about not having agency in the relationship, or feeling like she was that she had been sort of coerced or forced into the relationship?
Nothing like that whatsoever. Like she almost was, I'd say, the more manipulative one, or not the more, she was the manipulative one. She would ask for things to be, if she wasn't happy with the way things were going, she would twist it to where she got what she wanted, because it would be, she would kind of throw a fit. He's a strong man, but he's also very sweet. And I never got any any feeling that Manson ever was the one controlling her. It was the other way around, in my opinion.
And just for the record, you never saw Manson doing or saying anything abusive to Evan, right?
No, not ever. I mean, unless you count him like she'd walk by and he'd like swat her butt as she went by, and she'd do that little giggle, that little Bugs Bunny.
Well,
giggle,
Manson.
I mean, just
if we hold on long enough, I bet that will eventually make it into a lawsuit or something. And then, probably, without my consent, he touched my rear. No.
He swatted my rear end.
So it's been a little while since we talked, and a number of things have happened. So we had the announcement of the HBO documentary. It premiered at Sundance. It's coming out on HBO. And then just this past week, Marilyn Manson filed a huge lawsuit. And I thought that what we could do is, I just wanted to get your reaction to some of this.
I don't know if you saw my reaction on Instagram. I did a story.
What was it?
Oh, you missed it. I might have to send it to you. It was literally just me screaming, yes.
What was it?
It was just me going, yes! Yes!
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, I've been accused of gloating too much, because I did a couple of videos where I was, but like, for those of us who've been on this train for a while, things were looking pretty bad. Like, it was getting pretty demoralizing. And so we've got something big to celebrate here.
It was so quiet for so long, and everyone's like, why isn't he talking? Why isn't he making a statement? Why isn't he saying something? I'm like, he doesn't do anything half-assed. Like, he wants to make it right. It's got to be right, and it's not right yet. And when he's ready, and when it's perfect, then it'll happen. I'm like, you've got to wait. I'm not pulling up that whole, best served cold, but you don't want to go off half-cocked with something like this. You want to make sure that it is expertly crafted, that you have all of your ducks in a very neat little line, and that's exactly what he did with was it Howard King, I believe, is his attorney.
Yeah. So Howard King, I looked him up. I think he was like basically like Jay-Z's lawyer and the lawyer for Apple Music and stuff, like hardcore, like music industry lawyer.
Like, he's high profile. He does not fuck around. Like your attorney friend said, no, he does not fuck around. And I love that. He's just like, no. And all of his comments to the press also, he's just like, this is bald-faced lies. This is nonsense. She knows this is nonsense. She's pulling this out of her behind. This is not how it. No, she knows she's wrong. It's just this self-assured confidence that you get when you have a strong, factual, well-reasoned, well-seasoned, well-cited and footnoted argument that cannot be refuted. He's got that kind of confidence, and I hope that Manson is feeling that confidence. I know he hasn't said a whole lot in the past year.
He has been quiet. I mean, he has definitely been patient. He's definitely been patient and not. He's done the opposite of the accusers. That's what's so funny, is that it's like basically like a case study in two totally different methods. And so, so with Manson, like, he put out that one statement and then just went silent while he's getting evidence, his team's getting evidence, or whatever's going on behind the scenes, and then bam, he comes out, right? In contrast to what all of these ridiculous women have been doing since this whole thing started, just blah, 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 posting all of this shit on, on Instagram and fake Pinterest photos and all of it. So what I wanted to ask, or what I'm curious about, is that from what you know of Evan Rachel Wood, and having been her friend, hung out with her and stuff, and then what seems to have happened with her since this Ilma Gore woman has entered her life. I don't want to absolve Evan Rachel Wood of responsibility for these terrible things that she's doing right now, but at the same time, it does seem like her life has taken a rather dramatic turn towards evil since Ilma Gore.
She's turned to the dark side. She was escorted there by Ilma, who doesn't have a social media manager to stop her from saying dumb shit on Twitter, running her mouth. I can just see like her legal team being like calling her and being like, "What are you doing? Are you on Twitter right now? Get offline! Stop posting Stop following
Well, and not only does she get on Twitter, but then she admits that these images were taken from her computer.
I was beside myself. I was just like, what are you doing? I mean, it was glorious. I mean, it was literally like she just had the gift and started wrapping it and like stapling gift cards to it. I'm like, could you make this any easier? Like, Manson's team is just like, how could I do nothing? She's just presenting all of this. Like, this is absolutely my material that I had, and I have a copyright on all this evidence that you say is mine, which actually it is mine. I have the copyright.
In case there was any doubt, and basically saying, in case there was any doubt, the evidence that's being set forth by Manson's team, it is legit. That's basically.
Manson has a history of deranged people like sending him shit and telling him shit and being weird. He's had so many stalkers and people that are just like trying to sneak onto the bus. They're stealing credentials. They're trying to lift laminates off crew members. I mean, I've seen some crazy fucking shit goes down. So he like keeps things. Not this might come in handy later, but he's very meticulous with keeping stuff, which is why when they're like, oh, well, he would have evidence, he's going to find it. I'm like, but he would have kept it. If there was something to be kept, they would have found it by now. But they haven't found anything, so there's nothing there. Right,
and this is after cops have seized, police, if you want to use the term raided, police raided his home or searched his home. They seized all of his devices. They seized his hard drives, his phones, his computers, all of that. I know for a fact was all seized. And so if there were anything to be found, they would have found it. But so it's alleged in here in this lawsuit, one of the things that they did, Evan Rachel Wood and Ilma Gore, they impersonated an FBI agent. So they drew up this fake letter purporting to be from an FBI agent. And they even I guess they looked up a real FBI agent's name and they signed this real FBI agent's name who had nothing to do with them or anything, just totally made this up. And then they used this letter to try to recruit women, some of these accusers, to go after Manson because they said, hey, look, don't worry. This guy, he's already being investigated by the FBI. So you should go ahead and accuse him as well because he's a bad guy and he's being investigated. He's going down.
Right.
Which is really, I have to wonder, okay, here's my question for you. How do you think these other accusers are feeling right now? Because they have thrown their lot in with Evan Rachel Wood and Ilma Gore. Like they are on this boat. And how do you think it feels for them? I'm sure they didn't realize that they were being manipulated with fake FBI letters.
Right. I feel like they're probably looking at this and immediately explaining it away by trying to give Evan the benefit of the doubt by saying that, I don't know though, because if they were there for the script, something maybe they could just say, oh, he made those up. But I mean, if they were on that Zoom meeting or that call or whatever, they would have been at the meeting, they would have seen the script, they would have had their own copy of the checklist. So it's not like because he made that up, because I mean, they had it. Like they talked about it. They talked about getting their stories and getting together and like going down the list and making sure that they all fit this neat little thing that was
You're right. They probably don't see anything with it, honestly. I mean, anything wrong with it. I mean, we're dealing with very unscrupulous people and delusional people anyway. And so they probably would say, well, so what if she did these things? She was trying to catch a bad guy, or they know in their minds that what they're saying isn't true, and they're probably like, I don't care what we have to do to beat this guy. But it's just, I wonder if I just have to think that some of them, though, somewhere inside have to feel a little bit of nervousness at this point about the fact that they have tied their fate to such obviously incompetent people. I mean, this is not a very well carried out hoax if Manson's team has access to all of this evidence.
No, especially when you're like the head of the hoax is a known hoaxer who has been hoaxing and like ripping
seriously
people, including like her blood family. Someone that will go to such lengths to defraud your blood relatives is not someone that you want to associate with, to work with, to sleep with.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things about this lawsuit coming out is that in the past week, all of this information has become public or has gotten more attention regarding Ilma Gore and the fact that she really is an habitual a serial scam artist.
I really do want to know, like, as far as like the people who should be feeling the worst about this are the ones who are legally like in it up to their necks. Like the people who have filed lawsuits specifically, who are now in court going, oh, well, I did this and this FBI agent, this and this and that. But now they're like, now they've entered this level of, I am on record saying this, and I'm basing all that in part on what is obviously a lie. I don't know whether these people knew that. I'm assuming they did not know that Evan and Ilma had cooked up this FBI thing. But I mean, impersonating a cop is bad, but impersonating the FBI seems like a level of more worser. You know, like how much worse can we? Let's just.
It seems like something that even like a child would know. Like it seems like even like you ask like an 8-year-old, you know, and you're like, you know, is it okay to impersonate the FBI? They're going to be like, oh, that sounds like a really bad, you know, a really not good thing to do.
Don't do that.
And of course tonight, I don't know if you saw or not, but today, Jussie Smollett was sentenced. He's going to actually have to do some time in jail, like some time, like months. And he gave this speech about, you know, how he's still maintaining that he's not guilty. But anyway, he gives this speech and everything, and I just couldn't, and they show him being led away or whatever. And I just couldn't help but fantasize that maybe one day we'll see that happening to Evan Rachel Wood. It's probably too much to hope for, but I don't know. I mean, they've committed some crimes here, and Ilma, she's not a citizen, right? So she would just be deported back to Aussie land. But yeah, Evan, well, so I'm curious, like your friends, I guess that they obviously know that you're a Manson fan and everything, obviously. And so I'm curious, of your friends who are not friends and family who are not Marilyn Manson fans, I'm curious what kind of response or reaction or comments you've gotten from them about this situation. And have any of them heard about the lawsuit, or what are they thinking now?
A lot of my friends are very, very, outspoken feminists. They're very women's rights, workers' rights. They're very pro-sex work, very anti-rape, very female empowerment. And they're like, initially they had misgivings, but they also were they're like, this seems a little odd and a little convenient. And they were like, I didn't want to talk to you about it because I just wasn't sure. They're like, I'm assuming you're on Manson's side. And I'm like, fuck yeah. They're like, I wasn't really sure. They're like, they gave me space to explain what I knew. They're like, I know you're really good friends with him, and I just wanted to, what do you know about this? And I was able to tell them basically what I've told you and everybody, what I knew about this. And they're like, it just wasn't, like, something didn't seem quite right in it. And like, and now that you've mentioned all the things that you've mentioned, like, I'm starting to see that, we don't like to ever think that people would be not truthful with this kind of thing, but something's not adding up. They're like, I'm not saying that he is blameless, and I'm not saying that nothing bad ever happened to her. They're like, but it just seems odd. Something is not adding up with her story. I don't know. I'm reserving my final opinion for more information and everything, but I can't in full conscience saying, of course he did it. They're like, something's not adding up right for me,
well,
which
that's
I appreciate. My parents, of course, the rest of my family, they're kind of older generation. They're like, he's a rich guy. He's got money. Of course, they just want money. So, I mean, I had to convince them. They were.
I find that in a way, the older generation, and old, I say older, I mean, I'm even talking, middle-aged or whatever, but it does seem like it is a generational thing that even people like, our age, like you're probably like me, kind of at the line between Generation X and millennials. But like, people like, even like us, I feel like we are more skeptical. I feel like unfortunately, there's a lot of people in the younger generation that have a certain naivete, or have been indoctrinated into thinking that it's wrong to disbelieve someone, it's wrong to be skeptical, it's and that sort of thing. So it's kind of a generational thing to a degree, but I do feel like that Manson is gaining some traction, and I think that at least this lawsuit has done what you said. It's like opened up at least a kind of like Overton window. It's opened up this space where at least people can now feel comfortable questioning Evan Rachel Wood's narrative. And it seems like, these things kind of go in stages. Like someone was saying online, like with the Johnny Depp thing, at first it was, oh, Johnny Depp's a wife beater. And then it was, well, they both have problems. They're both toxic, right? They're both abusive. To then, oh, she really screwed him over. This was a hoax. And I think that's where we're just now starting the beginning of that second stage, like someone online said with Manson.
You can hear like the creak of the pivot, where people going, wait a minute.
But I did see, I saw every time I see a Marilyn Manson article, I'll look at the comments, and there still are so many comments. The majority of comments will say things like, just look at him. I mean, you can just tell they're looking at, those sorts of comments or what a despicable man. And then you're thinking these people don't even know anything about this man, but they look at him and they know the music and the weird music videos and all of that. So it's a hard pill for people to swallow. It was the same thing with Michael Jackson, as a number of us have been saying for a while on YouTube, Michael Jackson was probably innocent, and the people who, when he was cleared in a court of law, he was investigated by the FBI, and he was cleared by the FBI. And there are all of these people who hung out with Michael Jackson when they were children, hung out with him one-on-one, were good buddies with him, said he never did anything to us or whatever. And the few people who did accuse him were proven grifters and liars and so forth. My point being, though, that because Michael Jackson had this really weird image, and he did, right? I mean, he, by most people's definitions, he was a strange guy. He has to have done this to these kids. And it turns out he didn't, but it's that image thing. And so, like with Manson, I think that it's just so hard for people to conceive that this guy actually was a nice guy, treated women well, and was actually manipulated it seems like, by women often.
Yeah, that's very, very true. He was, I mean, he like Paula mentioned, he's a bit of what she called him, Captain Save-A-Ho. I mean, he's very
Hola, yeah.
It's very very Beauty and the Beast. Like he loves women. He always does. And it was funny because I was reading, I try not to read the Daily Mail, but I think I actually subscribe to them on my Snapchat. I don't even use Snapchat. I just use it to read like Daily Mail and like answer DMs and I leave. But there was something in there. They were talking about the Manson thing, and I happened to see a headline or something where they had it was Metal Hammer, and they had said something. I was trying to look at a timeline of their relationship, and somebody had said that, oh, they got back together in, after they broke up, and they got back together in, like January. He proposed like January of 2010 or something. And then there was a Metal Hammer article that had come out, and they quoted him as saying, Marilyn Manson says, I'm back with Evan Rachel Wood. And that it really struck me, because he said, I'm back with Evan, which is kind of like I'm with the band. Like, you're just like idolizing this person. Like, I'm with them. I'm with her. I'm back with her. And it wasn't like she's with me. No, she's mine now. It didn't have that, bitches with me. Yeah, we're rolling now. She came back. Yeah, all of this. She's like, that wasn't how it was, because he sees her as this beautiful person that he loves and adores, and he's like, I'm with her. This is my girl. We're together again. And it was just so endearing that he was like, I'm with her again. We're back together. Hooray! And that's how he sees women.
Right. Right. Like this isn't my groupie, she's lucky to be with me or whatever. It's like, no, I'm back with this person.
Yeah, I'm with her.
Person, yeah, she's the center of my world. Yeah.
He said she loves me. That's just the phrasing of it. But
all right. Well, thank you so much for being here to clarify that stuff. And if people want to see more of your story and hear more about Manson and Evan Rachel Wood, they can check out your full interview on my channel. And of course, I've got a lot of other stuff on my channel. I've been covering this for over a year since the story first broke. And I've been saying for over a year that Manson was probably innocent. So anyway, we'll have more on that coming up, and I hope everybody has a good day. As always, subscribe, subscribe, hit me up on PayPal, Patreon, etc., etc. All right, everybody, have a good day.